Welcome back, it's Nine, and today we are going to be talking about some Jim Ryan interviews. We're going to be looking at a new sales milestone for the PlayStation 5 and Sony in general. We're going to be talking about Blue Box Game Studios, and lastly, we'll be talking about the official size for Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut. Now, let's get started with this Jim Ryan interview, specifically about Nixxes software and how they've purchased them and what they plan to do with them. This comes from VGC.com, and it's titled, Jim Ryan says PlayStation is looking forward to working with Nixxes on PC games. So in a Famitsu interview published on Wednesday, Ryan said PlayStation was happy to be in the early stages of bringing our IP to the PC and look forward to working with Nixxes to help us do that. So the funny thing about this is, I remember when we first heard about this acquisition and we talked about it, we said, hey, what could they be planning to do with this? And there was some speculation and guesses at, maybe they could be bringing some PS3 software over to the PS4 and 5, as those are games that are kind of stuck because of the architecture of the PS3 and it not being able to be emulated that easily over on the PS4 and 5. And that was a thought and that was a possibility, but it looks like that's not really on their radar. And if you guys remember when we talked about it originally, I said, I think their goal is more so related to bringing their games to PC, as Sony's not that invested in bringing older games forward. Rather, they are looking to bring their new games to more platforms, especially that they've talked about that many times at this point. So this falls in line with their strategy and quite honestly doesn't surprise me too much. I feel like this is pretty much what we're to expect from Sony at this point, and it aligns with their goals very much so. So we'll see what happens there, but I think it's pretty straightforward. It's an obvious one there that we're going to see them work more with bringing their games over to PC and doing it in a way that makes sense for the PlayStation brand, especially because it is still in its infancy in many cases. Now, next up, I want to talk to you guys about this huge sales milestone for PlayStation, and it's a massive one because this is something that even surpassed the PS4. So this comes from an official, release from Sony themselves, and it's titled PlayStation 5 surpasses 10 million units sold, remains the fastest selling console in Sony Interactive Entertainment history. So a few highlighted points here. It says PlayStation 5 has sold through more than 10 million units globally since first launching on November 12th, 2020. PS5 is the fastest selling console in the company's history and continues to outpace sales of its predecessor PS4. So that's pretty major, especially when we talk about supply shortages, right? There's just not enough out there. And if there was, we would see those sales number even be greater. But on top of that, we've also got some updates on figures here of many other games that they have. So SI also achieved additional milestones across its portfolio of PlayStation Studios games, including Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales from Insomniac Games has sold more than 6.5 million copies since releasing on November 12th, 2020. So that in itself is a pretty big deal if you think about it, especially it being, what people considered a half step to the next actual entry of Marvel Spider-Man, so not 2, but the in-between, and yet it still did so well for numbers. Then we have MLB The Show 21 from San Diego Studio is the fastest-selling title in franchise history with more than 2 million copies sold across all platforms. The game has reached more than 4 million players since releasing on April 16th, 2021, another major milestone for PlayStation and San Diego Studio, clearly. And then we have Returnal from Housemarque, and that being a new IP, it has sold 560,000 copies since releasing on April 30th, 2021. And I think that's pretty major for them, right? This is their biggest, most ambitious project to date. This is something that is so different from anything that they've ever done. And it's only on one platform. And that one platform has a supply shortage. And when we're talking about 10 million units, 560,000 copies, that's pretty major. I'd say that's a big success for Housemarque and for Sony, so that's a great thing to see. Lastly, they give us an update on Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart from Insomniac Games, which has sold more than 1.1 million copies since releasing on June 11th, 2021. No surprise there, Ratchet & Clank, major IP for Sony, and it was an incredible game and an incredible showcase for the PlayStation 5. So I think those sales, all these sales really, are going to keep rising and rising as the months go on, as more PS5s get out into the market. Now, lastly, they do give an update on right? Like, it's not a major thing about looking forward 2 PS5 titles. And they say, looking ahead, the lineup of exclusive games coming from PlayStation Studios includes a new God of War from Santa Monica Studio, Gran Turismo 7 from Polyphony Digital, and Horizon Forbidden West from Guerrilla Games. Some of the highly anticipated games from SIE's partners include Battlefield 2042 from Electronic Arts, Deathloop from Bethesda, Far Cry 6 from Ubisoft, and Kena Bridge of Spirits from Ember Labs. And this is all as of July 18th, 2021. So it's interesting to see all this. I think at the end of the day, there's so much good news here. But at the same time, I know we always desire to see more, right? We want to know more. Sales are great, right? And knowing that these games are doing well is great and all, but we want to hear about the new games that are not out yet. And I totally understand that, as I am one of those people as well. But I think in due time, we're definitely going to see that happen. Next up, I want to talk to you guys about Blue Box Game Studio. And there's a lot around this. We're going to find out soon enough what's going on with this game. But sure enough, there's always some sort of rumblings around. And I wanted to talk to you guys about this as somebody came across a very interesting piece of art. And it was actually what they believed to be an asset. If you guys remember, they had released a new screenshot with a blurred image behind it. It was a guy with an eye patch. Somebody came across it and said, hey, that's an asset that on the storefront. And basically, Hassan has felt a type of way about that, as he says, theories like these are what makes it real hard for us. Do we have to defend the art we make now? Any model with an eye patch would look like the character in our teaser. Why would we get a character model from the internet and then promote a real-time experience for that? Here's the thing, right? I'm all for, letting developers be creative, and when the time comes, we play their game and we see what it's about and all that. I'm up for that. I'm really up for that, and I will give most games a chance. In this case, I feel like there are some intentional things here being done to make it seem what it's not, right? So making people believe it's something that it's not, to create hype for it, to create more clicks, to create more people looking in the direction of this studio. For the sake of these guys, I really hope this doesn't hurt them in the end, but I feel like they're playing a very dangerous game. This could very well end not too good for them, and that's where my concern is. I really don't want to see this studio suffer because, trying to generate more clicks, generate more hype for their game along the road. I really hope that there's more to this game, or this game is a very, very standout piece. Otherwise, this is really going to hurt them in the long term. Even though they've created a lot of discussions around their game, it's not always a good thing, especially if people think it's something that it's not. Because when it turns out, and we're going to find out what it is, if it's not what people are thinking, and you've led them down that road, and you keep saying we have no affiliation, it's questionable. It really is, because then we're sitting here wondering, well, if you have no affiliation, why do you keep throwing hints at us like this? And I know sometimes people look at things and they only see what they want to see. But honestly, even I have to say, sometimes there's some things that they're doing that make you sit there and wonder and be like, you know what? I actually don't blame people for believing or thinking these things, because they're not really helping their case. But I guess we'll see in due time. I really hope the game is a showpiece. I really hope it stands out. I really hope it's something special. We'll see. I think Sony, promoting them on the PlayStation blog, there's got to be a reason behind that, but time will tell. We'll see what happens soon enough. But on to our last topic, and this one is, a small one, but nonetheless, still a topic, right? PlayStation Game Size on Twitter, so at PlayStation Size, has posted the download size of Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut. So, the size is 63.832 gigabytes without day one patch. Preload on August 13th, launch on August 20th. The size is it's not small per se, right? Like it's a pretty substantial size download, but it's also a big game, right? And then we also have that Ikishima Island download as well that's in there. So, it all makes sense that it's going to be that big. I'm not too concerned with the size of the game, really. It's not, at the end of the day, it's not one of those games that's 100 gigs. We're talking 63.83 gigs. You play it, you enjoy it, you do what you got to do, and then, if you don't play it anymore, you delete it. That's kind of what I do. So I'm not always worried about the size of these downloads unless they're like in the hundreds. In the hundreds, then you got to kind of be like, all right, we got to kind of look at why these games are so big and like what are we going to do with storage management if I can only have 1 to 2 games when they're hundreds of gigs. Like, for example, Call of Duty is notorious for that problem. So that's one thing that would concern me if it was there. But that's all I have for you guys in today's video. I'd love to hear from you. What do you guys make of all this? So Jim Ryan's interview and talking about Nixxes software and talking about porting more games to PC, does that concern you? How do you feel about that overall? I mean, personally speaking, I feel like that's a route that they're going to go, and they've talked about doing this, so it doesn't surprise me personally that they are going down that road. How do you feel about this PS5 milestone, along with all their games that have revealed how many copies they have sold, which to me all come out to be pretty good numbers? And what do you think Blue Box Game Studios is working on? I mean, I'm just waiting for us to get that official info on that, because I feel like it's just been going for so long. I'd love to just know what's happening there. And lastly, are you concerned about the download size for Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut? As always, if you guys have not subscribed already, please hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell to get notified about all my upcoming videos, and hit the like button. It helps the channel a ton. You can follow me on Twitter and Twitch. Links will be in the description. And share this video with a friend. I will talk to you all on the next one. Take care.